Welcome to Satsang. Yes.
What's it like to live without ego?
Well, first of all, you need to have an understanding of what ego is, because people think the ego is there all the time, but it's not. It comes and goes. It's the ownership, the identification as a somebody, as a something that has been somewhere, that might be going somewhere. And it's not there all the time, it's only there part-time when that ownership comes into play. And so everyone's experienced themselves without ego. Whether they remember it or not is another thing. But the sense of doership disappears. The sense of ownership disappears. And this occurs upon enlightenment. The sense of I drops, and you're left with the personality still operating, but the sense of someone doing something or being something is gone. And so there's talking right now, but there's no sense of anybody here talking. There's just talking. And it's been like this now for 24 years. The sense of doership, ownership dropped away 24 years ago, which is really nice. It happened after, when enlightenment occurred, actually. It happened then. It's not like anything got done to get rid of the ego. It just dropped away with the survival mechanism. Along with the identity disappearing, all fear disappeared. There hasn't been any fear in 24 years. Because the I is a part of the survival mechanism. And it is defeated in unconditional surrender to truth.
So, in enlightenment, is there something other than the disappearance of the identification and the dropping of fear that occurs?
Well, it's an absence, so you can't say there's anything else. It's an absence.
When you were still living as ego-based reality, how did you relate to your own ego?
Awakening occurred in 1999, and my first major satori's happened in 1987. And during those satori's, it was seen quite clearly that I was not the I, that I was not the body, that I was not the mind, and that I was actually the universe, but not in a personal way. All personal disappears. And so I already knew for 11 years that I wasn't an I, but that doesn't help much. The identification was still there before enlightenment. What diminished the sense of I to a large degree was moving into service of other people instead of being in service to myself. And it is nice to not have a prominent I, because we've all been programmed as I's to be problem solvers, constantly looking for problems to solve. We end up being doaholics because that's what we're programmed to do at school. That's what we're programmed to do at home as well. Fix things, make it happen. And so we're constantly problem solving. To me, that's a form of suffering. I love my mind to be silent and still, and it is. It doesn't talk to itself, it doesn't chat with itself, it's silent and still. Because a long time ago, when I was looking for enlightenment, back in the late 80s, I got sick of my mind, constant chatting. I started putting my awareness more and more on what was real. And everything is real except what you think. And that's very beautiful to do that. The practice of meditation brings you to reality. The practice of thinking keeps you in dream, in the matrix of the mind. And we were programmed to be efficient little machines, so we problem solve efficiently, but we don't stop. Part of that problem solving quite often is worry, which is terrible, trying to get it right with by thinking about it, overthinking. What would it be like for you to live as silence? What would it be like for you to live as stillness? But still there, but as silence and stillness. It's actually very beautiful. In comparison, to live as a mind that is constantly talking to yourself, the difference is almost like heaven and hell.
Were there any signs that your ego was diminishing as you took on more spiritual practices?
Yeah, there were. I got into a service club when I was about 19. It was called Apex, and Apex was a young man's service club for men under the age of 40. And on weekends we'd go out and help pensioners, build adventure playgrounds in poor suburbs, raise funds for different things. And I got to an understanding of what altruism is. Altruism basically is giving without wanting anything back. And it was very foreign to me as a 19-year-old. I just didn't get it really. But I was involved in this club for 2 years, going out and doing adventure playgrounds, because what I was doing was I was studying the men who were older than me, who had good qualities of being men, and I started copying them. Because I had grown up in an environment where I didn't have good role models. The men that I did know were immature, including my own family. They were little boys pretending to be men, and I actually wanted to be a man as a teenager. And so I started role modeling off these older men who had manly qualities. And that was a really good thing for me to do. One of the things that I learned is you have to be mature. Immature men are not men, they're little boys pretending to be men. A mature man takes responsibility for everything and makes it work for everyone. Takes responsibility for his own feelings, doesn't blame other people for it. This is maturity. And that set me on a path of having a life that didn't suffer so much, because immature adults suffer until they die, basically, being victims of this, that and the other. A mature man doesn't do that. A mature man takes responsibility for himself and for others, for his own feelings, and he makes it work. I got to find out that for someone to wake up, they have to have a mature mind. You can't have an immature mind and think that you have a chance of waking up. That's not a possibility. You have to develop maturity, which means you have to take responsibility for the feelings that you have and stop blaming something else or someone else for them. Because that form of mind power leaves you no chance of awakening because you're constantly contracting and resisting life. Victims' lives simply don't work. Yet we live in a society that is very victim-orientated. Our newspapers have nothing but victim-orientated stories in them. Our news on television has nothing but victim-orientated stories in it. The movies we watch, the television series we watch, are all victim-orientated, so people identify with it and think that it's okay to be a victim of this, that and the other. But what they're doing is supporting immaturity in themselves, ruling themselves out of higher consciousness, guaranteeing that they're going to suffer until they die. It's up to you. You create your reality by the way you think. You're responsible for how you think. Nobody else is responsible. You are.
And lastly, does developing a humble ego help towards enlightenment?
A humble ego? Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing. I think there's an ego that can pretend to be humble, but true humility occurs when the ego starts disappearing. As long as there's an ego present, the chances of humility are probably very limited, but the chances of pretending to be humble is very high, because the ego loves to be special, so it'll be the most humble. That is not humility. That is it's still competing. That is pride. I'm so humble. I don't think so. True humility occurs when the ego disappears.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any statements? Any challenges to anything that has been said here this evening? Hello.
Hello. Earlier, we were looking at pictures of you as a sannyasa,
Ah, yes.
and I don't know why, but it really touched me. I found it very beautiful seeing, just you as a seeker.
That's a statement.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Arun, hello. If you could refer to me as Vishrant, that would be more respectful.
Hey, Vishrant. I have a question about my practice. So I've just been trying to be as mindful as I can on a day-to-day basis. And in particular, more recently, I've started a new job. And the job requires a lot of reading. So I've been trying to read as mindfully as possible. What it's meant is I read much slower, but then I'm conscious of most of the things that I read. And as I read, I'm saying the words out to myself in my head. So is this mindfulness? Is this a way of being mindful, or is that mental content?
Well, you're being mindful of what you're reading, but you're still living in your head.
Okay.
So I'm looking, right, and there's people here, and I'm not thinking. I'm not judging. I'm not categorizing. I'm just like a video camera, just recording. That's present moment awareness. Learning something from a book and taking it into your mind, that's dreaming. Okay?
So, I mean, it's something that I have to do. So is this just a period where you accept that you're doing something in the mind and you're not being mindful, or?
Yeah, well, I had to do the same when I trained as a naturopath and trained as a psychotherapist. I had to do a lot of study. But it was all, living in the head stuff. And I didn't like it, but I needed to do it so I could have the skills to help people.
So the follow-up question then is, so I've read some things from Osho where he says at times you also witness the thoughts, and when I try to do that, I'm just witnessing mental talk basically, and I try not to judge it. So is that not the same thing as reading and just processing what I'm reading as internal thought?
See, what you're trying to do right now is justify what you're doing. And so you're using another spiritual teacher's talking to justify how you're operating. And the teacher that you're talking about was my spiritual master, and he lived in silence. You go anywhere near him and you could feel it. He didn't live in his head at all. Matter of fact, you could quite easily say that his nature was silence and stillness. The same as any other person who's fully awake. Because what we are, what we truly are, doesn't make noise and it doesn't move. Beingness is silent and still. That's why most people miss it, because it is silent and still, and on a very basic level we're programmed to look for things that move and things that make noise. And beingness doesn't move and it doesn't make noise. So it's quite often missed by everyone. It's okay for you to study. You need to study to do your job. That's okay. Just when you're not studying, be present to what is real. And nothing you think is real.
And at what point or stage do you say we should look to the content of our thoughts to try and take them apart? Is it just something that you do for a brief period of time during a day, or?
What I did is I understood that belief systems have expectations on them. And when those expectations aren't met, quite often the mind will go into a reaction and go into resistance and go into contraction. Well, after that occurred, then I would actually examine the belief system, because I didn't want that to happen again, and I'd take it apart by injecting doubt into it. It's a process. You have all these belief systems inside of you that you developed over your lifetime, through your schooling, from your parents, from your religion, whatever, and all of them are prisons. All of them need to be undone so the mind can stay equanimous, so it doesn't react to the world in a resistant way. It's up to you. Higher consciousness is a reverse engineering. It's not a becoming bigger, better and more powerful. That's personal growth. Higher consciousness is not that. It's about becoming less than, not more than.
Thank you.
Nice to talk to you, Arun.
Talk to you.
Rishi, hello.
Hello, Vishrant. When you work energetically on us, is it an active work or is it completely passive?
Wow, I didn't understand you. Can you do that again? When what?
energetically on us?
When I work what?
Is it an active work?
Do you work energetically on us?
When I work energetically on you, you'd be lucky.
Is it active?
Look, the energy that's here, and it's a Buddha field, I'm not doing anything. It's just happening because awareness is aware of itself. I'm not doing anything. I'm just here. I'm not doing a thing. As a matter of fact, my mind is really, really just quiet.
And even in a one-to-one conversation, you never target anything on someone.
Gee, I hope not.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
You must think that I'm some kind of wizard or something.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, over the years, a lot of people have thought that. Anyway, I'm not doing anything, I just am.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else, Rishi?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishi. Prem Abaya.
Yesterday you were telling me that you needed to find the space on your own.
What space?
I don't know you. It's just what you told.
You mean the space that you're finding right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, self-inquiry can help you with that. If you want to do it by yourself, it's just a lot easier to do it around someone who's awake. And so I was with Bhagwan 𝐬𝐴-𝐲𝐪 for 7 years. And after that, I was with the Advaita Vedanta teachers. And I used to love going to Satsang because it used to blow my mind. Just like it blows yours. And eventually, that space that you're finding right now started to hunt me. And I'd find that I'd be driving along and all of a sudden I'd find myself as just not there anymore and just space. And I found I could still drive the car okay, but I couldn't answer any questions. People would ask me, things like, what's your name? And it's like, nah. Where do you live? Nah. Good thing I didn't get pulled over by the police. They would have been checking me for alcohol and drugs. And when they found none, they'd be very suspicious. Probably deliver me to the hospital mental ward. But I started disappearing quite a lot and finding myself really as just a space. And it was a precursor to enlightenment. But instead of resisting it, I warmly welcomed it. It's like you find the space and you're looking at the space and there's nothing there. It's just emptiness. And it's like you're walking around a big abyss, just looking at it. And then suddenly one day, through an accident, you find that you are the abyss. And that you're looking out at everything here as the abyss, not as a somebody, but as the abyss. It's a very different experience. Anything else, Abaya?
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. It's good to see you, Abaya. Hello, Abaya. We have the fearless one and the fearless one in a row.
Yeah. Hi, Bhagwan.
Hello, darling.
I don't have any question, Bhagwan. I just wanted to say thank you. for your presence.
Thank you, Dan. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Satsangs are the highlight of my day.
Yeah, I'm in Satsang 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anyone who's sitting with me at any time is in Satsang. Because Satsang basically means association with truth. And the truth is, we are beingness. We're not an I, we're not a mind, we're not a body, we are pure beingness. That's the truth. And someone who's enlightened is existing as that and aware of that. Anything else?
Thank you, Bhagwan. That's all.
Okay. Prem Rajesh. Yeah, Rajesh. King. King of love.
Not quite there yet.
Ah, okay. When you get there, let me know. Did you want to have a chat?
I wanted to ask you, a lot of times you talk about you calling your mind, you lovingly calling your mind the bullshitter or affectionate. And I wanted to ask,
affectionately.
why do you always add that part, the affectionately?
Because quite often people will judge their mind and hurt themselves in the judgment. And I've never hurt myself in the judgment of what I've found inside my own mind. And so I affectionately call it the bullshitter. Because when we judge our mind and we're harsh with ourselves, we're creating a schism inside ourselves between the part that is judging and being harsh and the part that is being judged. And a mind that is like that can never truly fully relax. If the mind can accept itself totally and hold itself in affection, it can relax. But unfortunately, we've been programmed at school and at home to not accept parts of our mind. And so people can't truly relax. There's a state of tension because there's parts that judge other parts and quite often parts that are hiding. Self-acceptance, as far as I'm concerned, is the beginning of higher consciousness and a requirement for it. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Good to talk to you. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
My question's around like loving yourself. And I'm wondering, what does it look like to hold yourself in tenderness from your perspective?
You're looking at it. Vishrant accepts Vishrant exactly as he is. And Vishrant knows that he is perfectly broken, like everybody else. Anything else?
Such a oneness.
Yeah, the mind can rest when it feels that, when it is absolutely okay with itself, knowing full well that, parts of it are broken. Because there's no such thing as a perfect human mind. We've all been programmed so badly. None of us were programmed for happiness. None of us were programmed for love. Not really. We may have been loved, but we were never programmed. Wasn't in our schooling, wasn't in the curriculum. Same as happiness wasn't in the curriculum. Success was in the curriculum. Becoming an efficient little machine was in the curriculum. But those things don't bring happiness. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Karen. Corey, hello.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
Hello. How can I stay grounded when people direct anger at me?
What other people think of you, Corey, is none of your business. Why do you want to make it your business? That's their business.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. You know, people out there are at different levels of insanity. What they think of you is, you know, really their own judgments, their imagination. They've put it together. Why would you be concerned about it? There's a lot of fruit bats out there, mate. And so I've never really worried about what other people think of me. I've been more concerned about what I think of me. And it has nothing to do with other people. It has nothing to do with what they think. It is totally related to how much I accept and love myself. If you're worried about what other people think of you, you might need to have a look at yourself and see what it is about you that you don't accept fully. I've never been concerned about what other people think, you know. Why would I be? There's a lot of crazies out there. You ever walked around Perth at night time? We've got one out there now. Outside here, they're having a good sing-song about nothing. It's like, maybe I should go up to him and ask him what he thinks of me, eh? And then get concerned with what he's saying. I don't think so. People have every right in the world to have an opinion, every right in the world. But so what? Opinions are opinions, they're not facts. Why are you so concerned about what other people think of you? I'd be looking at that. It sounds like somehow you're reliant on other people's acceptance to be okay with yourself, rather than just being okay with yourself. Yeah. I lived on this. Go ahead.
I was going to ask how I can stop selling out. I know we talked about it, but it still happens.
Yeah. To get other people's acceptance, is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, look, man, I lived on the streets for a while as a teenager of Perth. Being concerned about what other people think of you just really is not worthwhile. It's actually okay to be unacceptable, unless you make it not okay. I've always been the black sheep. I've always been the rebel. I've always been the one that was in trouble. And I just made it okay for me to be me. How about you making it okay for you to be you? No matter how broken you might be, make it okay for you to be you. When I was 17, I got a motorbike. It was a black helmet, and scratched in the back was an F and a T and a W. Anything else, Corey? Nice to talk to you, Corey. You put your hand on your heart. Love yourself, man. Accept yourself exactly as you are. You like me, are perfectly broken. Okay. Hello, Zorba.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
Hello, sir. This morning I woke up and I have a sty in my eye. Yesterday I had it as well, but this morning I woke up and it was properly, like blossoming. And I saw the resistance that came in my mind about going about and, doing whatever I was meant to do and meet people and all that. There was a resistance. There was definitely resistance. So I took the opportunity to see. I went and did whatever I had to do, and then I was looking at the belief systems behind the mind's resistance. Facing people with a swollen, eye or whatever it was, how it was.
I probably would have had a lot of fun with that.
You would go and chat up ladies.
No, what I would have done was I would have got myself a nice black patch and put it over that eye, and then on my left shoulder I would have put, that is your left shoulder, isn't it? It's your left eye. On my right shoulder I would have put white paint, 𝐸𝐞𝐥𝐿. Just tell everyone I was a pirate, mate. Ha ha. See, you had this opportunity to have a great deal of fun. You could have dressed up as a pirate with a patch over your left eye and 𝐸𝐞𝐥𝐿 down your back. Would have been brilliant. The only thing better than that would have been to have had a 𝐸𝐞𝐥𝐿 that you could put on your shoulder. Or you can walk around embarrassed about having a sty in your eye. Your choice.
Isn't it though a great opportunity for me to see why I'm embarrassed and to look at this and face it? And
heck, man, what can you see? You've got a sty in your eye. Look, to play this game of higher consciousness at a reasonably high level, you have to become God's fool. You can't be concerned with what other people think of you, no matter what.
So this approach, it seems different to me than looking at the belief system that causes a contraction and all that. It's like a chop. The one you just said is more of a chop rather than going in and
it's
looking.
an understanding. It's an understanding that is quite clear. You can't afford to be worried about what other people think of you. It's too expensive. People who are concerned with what other people think of them sell out of themselves to get along and twist themselves into knots that they are not to get approval. It's an ugly way to live. Be authentic. Walk around with your sty. Or have some fun as a pirate. Become God's fool. It's okay, whatever people think of you, it's okay. It's none of your business anyway, it's their business.
It's true, it's irrelevant. I see that it is irrelevant. It's their thing. The same way what I think about them is my business. And
well, it is your business what you think, but what other people think of you is their business, not yours. Why do you want to interfere?
Yeah, I mean...
Everyone's being fraudulent anyway. You show me a real person. You know, we're all beingness. Everything else is fake. Everything else is fraudulent. We're all beingness. We're all the same thing. People are putting on an act, and the act gets done for long enough, it becomes a default pattern, but it's still not who you are. It's just a default pattern of how you present yourself to the world. Now, if you decide to become God's fool, you are going to have so much fun it's not funny. But if you decide to put on the hat of being a banker or an undertaker or someone, you know, like that, accountant, someone who's really serious, oh, what a terrible way to live, being like that every day. Hey? Same outfit, same face. Yeah. Now, compare that to being God's fool. Compare that to being God's fool and think of all the joy and the fun you'll have and you'll bring to other people. Do you think people who look like accountants and bankers and undertakers really bring that much joy to anyone else? I think bankers get off on saying no. So sorry, but you can't have that loan.
So God's fool, if undertakers and bankers are the opposite, God's fool is a bit like a kind of a jester.
Well, you have a look at undertakers. They are so serious. They look like it was their own father that has died. You know, how do they muster that? You know, it's ridiculous. And they get home and they're the same. You know, it's like the same as accountants, because accountants are responsible for other people's money, like bank tellers are responsible for people's money. So they have to be relatively serious because we don't trust people with money if they laugh all the time. But life itself is just a joke, mate. Be a joke unto yourself. Have fun. Be God's fool. Anything else?
Thank you.
Captain Bligh. Yes.
I noticed that doctors in Perth are very serious.
Who?
I have seen 3 doctors and
They're very serious?
They don't smile at all. They don't even, I tried to talk to them and
Why would they want to smile where they're telling you how sick you are and making money out of it?
Like there was something funny and I was thinking that, oh, he's not smiling, and I was thinking how his wife is putting up with him.
Look, when I was a naturopath, all my friends were doctors, and they used to party hard, and they were a lot of fun. But when they went to work, they put this mask on of seriousness because they wanted to be trusted by the people they were telling that they were going to die or whatever else, you know. It's a pretty serious profession. But when they weren't at work, boy, were they fun. Yeah.
That was my experience as well.
Now, with undertakers, it's a little different.
Recommendations: if you see a nurse, they'll treat you a lot better. When did you, Bhagwan, realize that you are perfectly broken?
I started doing encounter therapy when I was 19 years old, and I started witnessing my mind when I was 14 years old, and I could see the faults in it. And I didn't correct them in the beginning, but then I started to correct the things that were handicapping me, limiting belief systems. And I realized that it was going to take a lot to actually take all the things in me that were broken, that weren't working properly. And people don't like to see themselves in that light. They like to think of themselves as pretty well going well, but that's because they're not honest with themselves. When you get ruthlessly honest with yourself and you're watching your own mind, you get to see an awful lot that is corrupt. And that's just a survival mechanism doing its thing. But because we've grown up in a society that has a morality to it, we judge ourselves and we put ourselves down and we belittle ourselves. We start running guilt on ourselves and beating ourselves up for what we find inside, which is actually natural, and it's in all human beings. Rather than that, you're better off accepting what's there, and if you do find things that are unsavoury, don't let them run. You're not ever going to get rid of them. It's not like the programming leaves. It's always going to be there. But you don't need to let it run, you know? So everyone has a thief in them, everyone has a liar in them, everyone has a cheat in them, everyone has a murderer in them, but you don't let them run. Or you do, and then you go to jail.
Bhagwan, when you talk to me, my mind stops working and I cannot understand. I have to go back to video
to watch it.
To watch what you said.
If I had a little violin, I'd play it for you right now. You know, poor thing, poor thing. You see, when I came into the presence of my awake teachers, I recognised the privilege that I'd been afforded and celebrated it. I didn't complain about it. Anything else?
I'm very thankful to you. It's a bit strange. Thank you.
I've had a very fortunate life in that I've actually been able to be in the presence of quite a lot of enlightened ones. And each one of them helped strip something in me away so I could eventually get free. Anything else?
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
I was just wondering how I can become at ease with change and allow myself to drop expectation.
Well, don't be at ease with change. Just fight it and struggle and hurt yourself until you get sick of hurting yourself.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah, well, that is the way. That's the hard way, and that's what most people do. They struggle and they fight themselves and they become their own worst enemies, and change is inevitable. It's the one guaranteed thing on this plane. We all want things to be stable, but that's just not how reality is. Everything is always in flux. Change is going to happen. As a matter of fact, you're going to change into something dead one day. You know, it's inevitable. But what you're doing is fighting it rather than accepting it. There's the mistake.
Why do I find that I'm surprised when I'm coming back to the same experiences, or that I've let myself experience something that I felt I've gone through before but not learned from?
Because you're dealing with a default pattern that's been there for a long time, so it's hardwired. And the only way to change it is by actually consciously changing it every time it appears. Expecting that it's going to change by itself or suddenly is actually out of touch with reality. Because default patterns that we psychologists reckon we've developed by the age of 9 are going to be there for life, unless there's intervention. And you have to be the one that intervenes. You have to consciously change patterns you don't like. And you will fail. And you'll fail a lot until you succeed.
In those words, then, is becoming used to discomfort. This just takes time.
I don't have a problem with discomfort because I see that the reality of the world is an uncomfortable place a lot of the time. And we are programmed to chase comfort and avoid discomfort. That's a primal program we have. And most people spend their lives doing that. It's why people use so many drugs and do so much alcohol and find the fridge their best friend, because we're trying to avoid what's inside ourselves because it's uncomfortable. If you can become comfortable with discomfort, you can heal all the wounds of your heart, and you can go through this world quite adventurously, not being frightened of discomfort and avoiding it. You can be an adventurer and have fun. But you have to program yourself to do that, because you're programmed the opposite way. We think that we can change things, and we can instantly because of willpower. But for a default pattern to change, we have to practice something different for quite a long time. Yeah. The expectation that you should change suddenly will only hurt you. Be okay with you. Recognise that we learn through failing. It's the same way we learn how to walk when we were little. We kept falling down and getting up. We kept failing and then trying again. It's the way. Okay. Mahan, you have your hand up.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
There's some questions from online viewers.
Yes.
Chetan asks, what sort of commitment does it take to become your disciple?
Well, first of all, I have to accept you. And that could be very difficult, because even just speaking to you, Mahan, it was a very big job for me to accept you as a disciple, because you were so bad. But what got you in was your willingness. You were so keen, and that told me you're a seeker. And I'm here for seekers, because seekers are the only ones who really have a chance of raising their consciousness levels, finding heart and getting free. And so even though I didn't actually like you when I met you, I did love you, and I could see that you were a seeker, and I can't knock back a seeker. That's not possible. If someone's a seeker, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help them get free. By the way, you are growing on me. Okay.
Yes, there's more. Keaton says, I feel drunk of silence, yet my family remains unawakened. Is filial piety, honoring family, still living in ego? And how can I cultivate patience and draw them to the Buddha field of a master?
You can't. You can try, but my experience is that seekers are actually rare, and you sound like a seeker, and maybe your family is not. In my own family, I was the only seeker. Out of all my close relatives and distant relatives, I was the only seeker. I was the only one that wanted to lift the rocks and see what was under them. Everyone else was operating on faith to a large degree. And none of them have changed since I've known them. They've all stayed pretty much the same. Seekers change because they actually see things and they remove obstacles. And so you're a seeker. It'll be difficult for you with your family. You can lead them to it, but it's a bit like leading a horse to water. You can lead it to the water, but you can't make it drink. Anything else, Mahan?
And Dana asks, my ego is spiritual ego. How can I end it? Meditation is not helping.
The dirtiest ego on the planet, the spiritual ego. Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. And there's two deals really. You can either go for heart, or you can go for beingness, or you can go for both. So there's two deals. And the deal with heart is quite simple. Everything for heart and nothing for you. And the deal with beingness is similar. It's everything for beingness and nothing for you. Now you can interchange the word beingness for truth or God, But that's the only deal there is. People who are awake have given their life to God, or truth, or beingness. They don't have a life anymore. And people who find a lot of heart in their life have given their life to heart. That's the deal. There is no other deal. It's up to you. Anything else, Mahan?
That's all. Thank you.
Macbeth Hately. Hello. You know who's in the room with me?
I do. I've heard.
Yeah.
Hello, Eve.
So they call you Mac. They don't call you Macbeth. They call you Mac. And so
They call me Mac, Macbeth, either.
And you go down to Macca's a fair bit and get, you know, do Macca's do vegan burgers, vegetarian burgers? They don't, do they? Nah, but they do good chips.
Apparently Hungry Jack's is the place to go according to Veet, so
I have a Mac outfit, you know, it's like this really tight outfit from Macca's, yeah. McDonald's, yeah. It's really cool. I like to dance in it.
the party outfit.
Yeah, my favourite thing is to wear it to Hungry Jack's and order a vegetarian burger. And I do. Anything else?
You mentioned before that almost nobody is programmed for love and happiness from childhood, and I was wondering what steps can be taken for in the future to program children to.
Okay. So you've got to recognise what facilitates the perception of real love or unconditional love as opposed to primal bonding. In primal bonding, you can be as closed as you like and defended as you like, and you'll still experience primal bonding, which is quite often mistaken for love. But it's a program that's built into us for the survival of the species. We protect our own and take care of our own. Unconditional love, when it appears, you take care of everyone and everything. And there is no jealousy and there is no possessiveness in it. But to facilitate the perception of unconditional love, you have to be wide open. All the obstacles have to be removed. You can't be defended. You have to be wide open. You have to walk through the world vulnerably. And that's up to you, because only you can take down your defence systems. Only you can open up. It's completely up to you.
When children are born, are they born open?
Yes, wide open. And then they develop defence systems against feeling different forms of energy from their parents. The most violent thing that a baby can feel is anger. And we developed defence systems against that, which later in life stop us from perceiving unconditional love. But as adults, but as an adult yourself, you can undo all these defence systems. You can look for them and undo them. And you can open right up and live in the world in an open way. And you'll start to perceive unconditional love. Openness facilitates it, because it's not somewhere else, it's always here. It's here now, it's always here. It's just that when we're defended or closed, we don't perceive it clearly. It's filtered. It's like, I love everybody in this room, I can't help it, because I'm wide open. It's just the way it is. But it took me a hell of a lot to get wide open, because when I was your age, I was very closed, because I'd grown up in a very violent environment. And I had to undo all those defence systems. I had to undo all the belief systems that were in the way, so I could walk through the world vulnerably and open, so I could perceive love. And it's up to you. Only you can do that. No one can do that for you.
Okay.
Okay, Macca. Hello, Susan.
My least favourite.
Macca. You hate Macca the most?
He is the one that everyone tends to call me though.
Gee, you
so.
don't want to take sannyas, mate, because Prem Macca sounds great. or Prem McDonald's. Hello, Susan.
I guess just...
You have to unmute yourself, Susan. Hello. You asked me a question You asked me a question today, didn't you? You texted me. Yeah. So we hold 3 public satsangs and 4 private satsangs. The private satsangs, generally speaking, are for people who have taken sannyas with me, and they're more intense because I'm more aggressive in helping them take away the things that are in the way for perceiving love and for higher consciousness. So to really attend those private ones, you need to be a sannyasin of mine. And otherwise, you can come to all the public satsangs, and if you put your hand up, I'll answer any question you can ask. But the thing about the private satsangs is that I'm helping people take themselves apart. And unlike general counselling, where you close people up after you counsel them, no one gets closed up. Everyone stays open with whatever's happened. And so the process goes on overnight and into the next day. But because they're coming the next day, I get to see them again. And I can take care of them again. And so people who are my disciples attend all the meetings because they're in a process of raising their consciousness levels by taking away everything that's in the way. And that can be quite a painful process if people have a lot of pain body in them, because it comes up and it comes out. And it's a bit like they come in and they find the ecstasy, the beauty of beingness to some degree in the presence. But then they have to do the laundry. And the laundry is dealing with all the pain body, the dark night of the soul. And so the private satsangs are really for sannyasins because they're really going through it. Whereas public satsangs are basically to let people know what's here and to invite them to come a bit closer. But to get closer, you really need to become a sannyasin, with more commitment, in other words. Does that make sense? Yeah, so now you know. And if you want to do anything like that, you need to talk to Tosh. He's the manager of the Buddhist Society. Sorry?
So would you have me as a sannyasi?
You're asking me for sannyas?
I ask you if you would accept me.
Yeah, that was a safe question. Are you asking for sannyas?
I have to ask Tosh.
Yes, you do.
So I ask Tosh then.
So, are you asking for sannyas?
What did you say?
Are you asking for sannyas?
Would love to be taken apart. Yeah. Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, so that's a little bit different than asking for sannyas. Becoming a disciple basically means... Becoming a disciple is very different because when you become my disciple, I am dedicated to helping you get free. That's what my life is about. I don't have another life. It is dedicated to helping the people who are my disciples raise their consciousness levels, find heart and get free. And so it's quite a strong relationship. It's a very beautiful relationship. Your freedom is my concern completely in sannyas.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay, well, are you asking for sannyas?
Yes.
I've spoken to you quite a few times, and I felt that you were ready quite a while ago. So yes, if you want to take sannyas, I will give you sannyas. And so what I'll do is I'll find a name that will suit your personality, and it'll be a teaching name for you, which is what I do for my sannyasins. And then you'll join us, and you'll be our sister. Okay. Nice to talk to you. It's lovely that you asked for sannyas. Amber, I think that's your mum, but I don't have time. I've run out of time here. I'm well overdue. And so, hello Amber's mum. It's nice to say hello to you, but I must go now. It is time. Thank you for satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here tonight.